Ladies and gentlemen, according to a really wonderful article titled "Special Counsel's Office is now investigating the 2016 DNC server hack," according to this wonderful article by Margot Cleveland in The Federalist, Researcher 1 has given testimony to a grand jury. Researcher 1 was one of the people within the Sussman indictment. He's one of the people within the Sussman indictment that helped compile data on Trump. This data was non-public data and information, cybersecurity information, internet data that was compiled to then give to government agencies in order for them to initiate investigations into Trump. So, Researcher 1, Tech Executive 1, Michael Sussman, the attorney paid by Clinton, and the reason he's indicted is because he did not tell the truth pertaining to who was hiring him when he spoke to James Baker at the FBI, the top legal counsel. That's allegedly what took place. So he was indicted because in reality, he was paid by Clinton. This attorney was paid by Clinton to compile a whole bunch of information on Trump, including information of then President Trump in the executive office of the president. Because part of the information compiled was after February of 2017. That's within the indictment. Who was president after February 2017? But anyway, so Michael Sussman was indicted because apparently James Baker at the Bureau, if he had known that Clinton had hired him, he would never have perhaps started any investigation or helped start any investigation, and he would have just maybe not even have met with Michael Sussman. But he was duped. He thought that Sussman was acting on behalf of the country's interests like a good citizen. Okay, that's basically what the indictment states. And they went after information from Trump's a health care provider, his Central Park apartment, Trump Tower, the executive office of the president. I mean, the surveillance was unbelievable. And just because it was legal, that doesn't mean that they weren't setting up and framing Trump. They were obtaining the information for a purpose. But hit subscribe to this channel right now. We're almost at 200,000 subs, people, and it's because of you. I want to thank everybody here. We're at 194. We're almost at 195 right now. And we're going to approach 200,000 subscribers. It's because of you. If you want to support my work, my Patreon is below. And to my new Patreons, thank you. Read the Federalist article I wrote predicting the stock market crash that we're seeing in slow motion. And I predicted everything in terms of the economy we're seeing right now in that article. I wrote that article in October of 2021. And also subscribe to the Stock Market Crash channel. I'll have a segment later tonight on the Stock Market Crash channel, a very important segment. And I'll start doing a lot more work on that channel, unfortunately, because we're going to experience a devastating, devastating market crash within this year. And we're seeing it in slow motion. But we're almost at 200,000 subs, and I cannot thank you enough. Word of mouth is the best thing you could do. Tell your friends, tell anyone you know about this channel. We're almost at 200,000 subscribers, and I just want to thank you so very much. Researcher 1 gave grand jury testimony. Researcher 1 also, in addition to working alongside Michael Sussman and Tech Executive 1 and the Clinton campaign, when they tried to perpetuate a myth that Trump had a back channel with a bank, an Alpha Bank, which even the future National Security Advisor tried to foment and perpetuate this nonsense. Jake Sullivan, Clinton tweeted about this. So, I mean, they literally paid for their own myth. In addition to working alongside the attorney that Clinton paid, he was also tasked by the DoD, the Department of Defense, and this is very interesting. He was tasked to find out the identity of the origins of the hack into the DNC. Now, this is bizarre. And when the Washington Post says, oh, it's a Byzantine state of affairs. Yeah, because that's how Democrats roll. They don't, all they need to give is a little plausible deniability to people like James Comey. And Comey is like, oh, no problem. Peter, Strzok, McCabe, Clapper, Brennan. They just need a little plausible deniability. Well, we have nothing to do with the Steele dossier. You don't? Okay. I mean, we did purchase the dossier, but they don't say that. So, I mean, listen to like this Byzantine, according to the Washington Post, explanation of everything. Clinton and the DNC hired Michael Sussman, hired other attorneys at that law firm, hired Christopher Steele, also hired Fusion GPS and Glenn Simpson, also paid and hired the third-party tech firm that said that the DNC was hacked, that the DNC servers were never given to the U.S. government. Comey asked for them. But see, the servers show that Bernie Sanders was cheated. The lack of courage and integrity by Bernie Sanders sent this country down a rabbit's hole of, you want to talk about conspiratorial nonsense. It was the definition of a hoax, myth, lies, deceit. The people who, and I'll do a segment, Elon Musk just clowned every Democrat on Twitter and Facebook, showing their support for the latest obsession of media, which, by the way, I also support those people. I support, but the thing is, I don't have Twitter or Facebook, and I support the men and women and the people, the Ukrainian people. I support them. God bless them. But I also understand we put them in that situation. That's a whole other story. Okay, Zelensky asked for, he asked to join the alliance. Of course, President Mashed Potato Brains Biden rejected that request. Didn't even really address it, and said, "Well, it's up to you." But so we share blame for a lot of what's going on. But see, you have to look at like Elon. I'll do a segment on Elon Musk. Amazing, just clowned all of these people who claim to be morally superior when in reality they're just sheep. Like they're just part of a herd, part of a being led astray always by media. And they want to feel, see, I can go into it. This is part of their identity. The people who don't like Trump, politics now is part of their identity. It's like a religious dogma to them. They truly believe they're on the side of justice and truth. Yet they don't care that Bernie Sanders was cheated, and they certainly don't care that Researcher 1 was tasked with finding out who hacked the DNC, because hacking the DNC servers meant that we learned Bernie Sanders was cheated. See, when they say interference in 2016, they don't talk about the initial interference. They certainly don't talk about the fact that the Clinton campaign elevated Trump. They don't talk about the emails. They don't talk about the emails. When they talk about impeaching Trump, they don't talk about Zelensky himself stating it never happened, that he was never pressured. It's so easy to refute the absurd nonsense of people who are apoplectic against Trump. You don't have to like Trump. But if you think that he's this rampant criminal, and you don't realize that the Clintons, for example, have gotten away with numerous, well, it's just the servers alone, with top secret intel on them. How did the top secret intel get onto Madam Secretary's servers? It's impossible. There's no legal way for that to take place. And I've written about that endlessly. But again, I want her to become nominee. Oh, no. Well, no matter what she says, I want her to be the 2024 Democratic Party nominee, and you'll see it'll be so lovely to see all the far left fall in line, which is what they did, 6 years ago. But anyway, Bernie Sanders is key to all of this. When you think of the Durham Probe, look, I used to be the biggest Bernie Sanders booster on the internet, according to the Huffington Post. I used to be the unofficial scribe of Sanders' most hardcore voters, according to the Washington Post. When people say, oh, you meander off all into focus. Like, no, this is a Byzantine, like the Washington Post says, state of affairs. In a Byzantine state of affairs, we have to just kind of explain it in the way that I'm doing. Hopefully you enjoy it. If you've lasted this long, maybe you enjoy it. But Bernie Sanders led us into a rabbit's hole of endless deceit and lies, and it wasn't directly his fault. He was cheated. Instead of saying, I was cheated, I can't believe they cheated me, he didn't say anything. He then went after Trump and said Trump is the most harmful president of all time. He was cheated by a political party. We know that from the DNC emails. What they did was they said, well, another country hacked the DNC emails. We have no direct evidence. The servers have never been looked at by John Brennan or Clapper or Comey or Strzok or McCabe or anybody. We're trusting the third-party tech firm that has an incentive not to tell the entire truth because they were paid by Trump's direct political rivals. This is not rocket science. If Trump hired a tech company to say the RNC servers were hacked and he had cheated Ted Cruz, you better believe that Ted Cruz would be like, that Democrats and media would worship him and would elevate him beyond iconic status and say, oh, well, you see what Trump did? Well, why should we trust, a tech company hired by Trump and Rudy Giuliani and the MyPillow CEO? Oh, my God, no. 50,000 Pinocchios. But now, they don't know, most people don't know this. The way they disregard this is they circumvent. Well, you don't get lost in the weeds here. It's been confirmed by the Senate. That this took place. No, it has not. A Senate panel confirmed the high to moderate confidence assessment. I can state every single day of my life that Michael Jordan is better than LeBron James. Well, I truly feel that, actually. But that doesn't mean anything. It means nothing. Because you can have 10 other people say, yeah, they know more about basketball than I do, and LeBron James is better than Michael Jordan. And you know what? It's been confirmed by the Senate. Guess what? LeBron James being better than Michael Jordan is a high to moderate confidence assessment by a bunch of people, confirmed by the Senate. They've confirmed the opinion that LeBron is better than Jordan. That's exactly what took place with Trump Russia. They don't have any direct evidence, and then they say, well, the DNC was hacked, and the reason was because they wanted to embarrass the Democrats. Well, what was embarrassing? Well, there's something happened with Bernie Sanders. Okay, well, what happened? He happened to be cheated. Or, you know what, he actually wasn't. Because let's not even get into that. It was embarrassing. We'll just leave it at that. Okay. And so then what took place is they then said that we're going to indict these intelligence officials. They were indicted on Company One, based on Company One's evidence, not based on the evidence compiled by the U.S. government. But then they say, well, the evidence from Company One was backed by the intel community and by the Senate panel. So what? All of these people backed Company One, which was hired by the DNC to look at the DNC servers. What does that mean? Nobody actually saw the servers. Nobody in the U.S. government actually held those servers. Okay, so now we're left with yet another issue. Does researcher one know? Was he asked questions pertaining to almost certainly he was asked questions pertaining to the tech company that was hired by Democrats? But he spoke to a grand jury. So now is Debbie Wasserman Schultz next to be investigated by the Durham Probe? Who knows? Anyone associated with all of this, I mean, this is sprawling. It's never ending because you don't just have. You have the Danchenko indictment. Then you have Christopher Steele and Fusion GPS and Glenn Simpson and everyone associated. Why doesn't I'm sure Alexander Downer, the Australian diplomat, has given testimony to the Durham Probe. If he hasn't, it'd be interesting why he wouldn't. So you have all of these. I mean, you have this sprawling network, this Byzantine map of a whole bunch of different people and companies and executives, and they're all either paid or they're overt loyalists of the Democratic Party, and they all worked in one way or another to claim that Trump was installed by another country, that the Kremlin installed Trump. And we know this because Facebook ads were well, how many Facebook ads? Which Facebook ads, how many voters were swung by Facebook ads? They can't tell you. Then when Jen Psaki says that the 2016 was hacked, she's lying. But you don't get the Washington Post with the running tally of of Biden's lies. No. Because they're all liberal Democrats, so why would they do that? You could multiply what's taking place in the past year and a half, this is all the lies that have taken place in the past year and a half, or close to 2 years with Biden, or a year and a half, far outweigh anything Trump has said. Because these are lies like, oh, well, you know what? Gas prices have nothing to do with us. It's what's taking place in Europe under our watch, by the way. That is the greatest lie of all. Trump was telling the truth when he said he had nothing to do with Russian intelligence operatives, and he told the truth every single day. As much that the media lied through their teeth regarding that, and people, the liberal pundits went ahead and spread and disseminated those lies. But you never got social media stopping any of that nonsense or silencing people for overt lies, except when Hunter's laptop showed yet again more incriminating emails, pay to play. Then that was suspended by Twitter and that was censored by a whole bunch of platforms. Anything that hurts the Democratic Party in any way it will be silenced in some manner. And then these are the same people who complain about authoritarians. They have to lie to their voters, and they have to prevent opposing viewpoints, because if there was a free exchange of ideas, their ideas would definitely not resonate. Would resonate even less than they do now. They would have an even more difficult time with their ideas resonating, because you would have a vantage point that isn't silenced. That's why they link everything to, well, if you don't listen to us, some lives are at stake. It's like, well, not really. Lives are at stake because you silence people. It's the opposite, actually. It's the opposite. Ideas win out based on their merits. Ideas that are false or not true, they never win. Sure, some people might believe them, but those ideas will never ever become mainstream or win. But anyway, Researcher one, according to this fantastic Federalist article, spoke to a grand jury. Researcher one was tasked years back with finding out who hacked the DNC. Okay. It's interesting that Researcher one was also involved in helping set up and frame Trump. Then Researcher one said, well, there was nothing wrong with what I did. I was just compiling data. Yeah, data can be used in a million different ways, especially against your political opponents. Okay. If you're utilizing data to undermine a duly elected president, you're doing the opposite of what democracy entails. But see, again, look, it's 20 minutes in. 99% of the morally superior Democrats who hear about the Durham Probe have no knowledge. They don't care. They don't even know what it is, and they don't want to know what it is. They just know Trump was installed by the Kremlin. That's the only reason Clinton lost. It is a lie and a deceitful, bogus, absurd hoax that they cling to like a blankie. And it's fine. They love it. They will pontificate about Trump lying without understanding or realizing that they've lied infinitely more about grandiose issues, about greater issues than Trump ever has. But they'll wrap themselves into in this comfortable idea or notion that they're the ones who really tell the truth. Give me your thoughts below. The Durham Probe is almost certainly starting to indict, or will indict more attorneys from that law firm, but also people involved with the DNC hack, or investigations into the DNC hack, or the tech companies. All you have to know is 18 U.S. Code 371. If people wanted to create a myth that wasn't accurate and deceive and defraud Americans, that's against the law. He doesn't even have to find perjury traps. But there are probably a million perjury traps. I mean, James Comey alone stating he didn't know the dossier was purchased by Clinton is an absurd thing. Almost certainly a perjury trap. Give me your thoughts. Thank you. Hit subscribe right now. If you've lasted this long, I'll be back in a couple of hours. And please tell your friends about this channel.